incredibly lucky today to have Michael Scutt, who's Google Cloud AI lead in Australia and New Zealand, to come and join us. And he will not only talk to us, but he will show us how some of his clients adopt AI. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. All right, this statement's fairly true. So as I was introduced, my name is Mike. I am Canadian, so I'd like to get that out of the way. I've been playing this game with most of my presentations. Anyone want to guess the decade? 60s, nailed it. Someone said 60s. I share that not because it's fun to do that, but because it is crazy what you can do with AI now. All right, that prompt you can see on the screen is what I put into a tool called AI Studio, and it built that entire application that I can now take photos of people and play around with it. I did it with voice. I don't know how to code. I built this application. I built other ones for my kids to turn them into Octonauts, which is super fun. But it's pretty crazy, where this has gotten to. Like, I couldn't have done this 3 or 4 months ago. And just to give you a sense of some of that pace that's going on, and my role in just staying focused on AI is just unrelenting. August, Demis Abbas, who's our CEO of Google DeepMind, just listed out the stuff that they had shipped over a 2-week period. In September, we launched things like a agent payments protocol, so the industry standard for doing transactions. We launched VO3 for video generation. We moved to the top of the app charts, won some math competition. In October, it kept going. Computer use got shipped. We launched a product called Gemini Enterprise. We went to VO 3.1. We launched this agent building tool called Opal. It really is nonstop. And I checked this morning, nothing had launched, so I didn't have to update anything, which was good. I expect we'll see some more stuff next week. But my role is really helping to navigate this. So this chart you see is called Martek's Law, and really it's when you get this type of an exponential change in technology, how do you navigate that as organizations? And so my role is generally working with large enterprises. I just spend quite a bit of time with the folks at realestate.com.au. But organizational change does not move at that same sort of pace as the technology does. And so, my role is really to help organizations understand how to navigate that and how we can hopefully help them accelerate. One of the other questions I often get asked is, how do you keep up? I sadly do not have a good answer to that. So I asked Gemini, I was like, can you tell me a Canadian animal that does not sleep? Turns out orcas don't sleep. They just switch sides of their brain on and off while they're swimming. So I guess that's what you got to do. You got to tap into that inner orca if you want to kind of keep up with AI. You got to read. You got to play with these things. You got to use it. There's no silver bullet. It just takes a lot of just staying involved. And hopefully today you can all be orcas and take some learnings from this and hopefully play with some of the things that I'm going to show you. I do get asked a lot, though, around the consumer side of the business, right? So I'm in Google Cloud, but what we're doing in AI is obviously having a profound impact on our business and also on the billions of users that use our tools every day. And the growth is insane, right? The number of tokens, so if anyone doesn't know what a token is, it's basically the number of characters in each prompt that gets sent to a model and the answer that comes back. So we're now processing 980 trillion tokens in a month. A year ago, it was 9.7. I think we just, in the earnings announced, we're now at a gillion or something, whatever the next size up is from trillion. And the other thing that's changed is behavior, right? So, our search bar is probably one of the most important parts of our business, but the way that consumers are interacting with it is changing. We taught everyone to speak pidgin English of best shoe near me now. And now, it's I want some Nikes, I want them this color, where can I find them? I want to know a whole bunch of detail because we're now getting used to, through all these AI tools, being able to have that type of experience. And that's forcing us to really adapt and change our business model as well. And this also means it's really complex, also exciting for organizations to navigate and think about, what does this mean for our business? How are we going to change? How are we going to adapt? And also it means you've really got to think deeply about how your consumers are changing. What are their expectations now when they hit your application, your website, interact with your employees, whatever it is, those dynamics are fundamentally changing. And I thought I'd walk you through a couple quick examples on the consumer side. So, say someone already knows, I am thinking of buying a home, and I want to know a little bit more. And what this is just a quick recording I did the other night of, we now have AI mode within the search bar. And so I could actually start here. I am genuinely looking at different suburbs at the moment in Melbourne, so Fairfield is one of them. And rather than typing a short prompt, I'm able to put in a much longer question that I want to ask. And then instead of hitting search, I hit AI mode. And so what you're seeing now is very quickly how Gemini is able to understand that question. It's leveraging Google search, all of this sort of pretty instant, and building out a fully referenced answer to that question. And we'll provide the citations and links to drive traffic. And I think that's really important to note too, right? Our business is built on driving traffic. And so what you'll see through AI mode is that constant ability to drive traffic to sites. Now, say you don't know what you want, or you're out on the go and you're not necessarily doing search. I'm going to share something that a colleague of mine did in a session we had in the US a couple of weeks ago, where he's using Gemini.
I'm in the Granger Avenue neighborhood of Los Altos. How much would a 3-bedroom house cost here?
Based on the information I found, a 3-bedroom house in the Granger Avenue neighborhood of Los Altos can range from approximately $3.4 million to $3.8 million. For example, a 3-bed, 2-bath house at 1890 Granger Avenue is estimated at $3,435,457, and a 3-bed, 2.5-bath house at 1864 Granger Avenue is estimated at $3,837,412.
I think 1888, my neighbor's house, just sold recently. Do you know the price for this?
Your neighbor's house at 1888 Granger Avenue sold for $3,650,000 on August 31st, 2023.
Would you know the realtor who sold this house?
Garrett Jones from Keller Williams Thrive was the listing agent. Alex Wang and Nancy Reynolds from Rainmaker Real Estate represented the buyers.
So that's possible today, right? Like if you have the Gemini app, you can do live stream mode and ask it questions. It's using search, is tapping into the world knowledge it has, and then using Google search. So this is a really different experience of how to explore real estate. And when we start to think about all of these things, the question I often get asked is like, what should our AI strategy be? And it's not really the right question to be asking. The question still remains, what's your strategy, right? Like, how are you going to grow your business? How are you going to bring down costs? Whatever those fundamentals are that you see for your business. But the question is more, can AI now help us accelerate? Can we do something we couldn't do before? Can we bring a new experience, a new product to market that could help change the fundamentals of our business? So really try to anchor on strategy versus just, we want to do. I have some customers that've got a goal of, we need an agent in production by the end of the year. I'm like, why? Let's think about what you actually need to accomplish. And so share that, because everything that powers the consumer side of our business is there's 3 tenets to it. First is the models that are getting built. So we have a large 3,000 person or more research team called Google DeepMind, and they're the ones building out all of these AI models. We have world leading infrastructure to run all of that. We have our own unique chips called TPUs. If you're interested, I'd Google it and read about them. They're mind blowing. But this infrastructure is what allows us to be able to serve at the scale we do, right? So ChatGPT is got the most users and whatnot on that app, but we actually are running the Gemini model across all of our platforms. If you think about search, we're serving billions of people and queries every single day. To operate at that scale requires our global infrastructure, our own unique chips, and everything that we've built. And then on the bottom, it's that ability to integrate these services into these massive platforms. So all of those brands you see at the bottom have over 2 billion users. So the scale that we have to operate is quite profound. And from a Google Cloud perspective, we get to piggyback off of all of that, right? So Google Cloud's a big, hyperscaler platform, but specific to AI, we have everything from the chips, which is what you would have maybe seen in the press recently. Anthropic do a lot of their training of their models on our TPUs, all the way up to the applications, that experiences that I just shown you, and everything in between. So we can kind of meet our customers wherever they are and with what they need to do in AI. And the trends that I see really kind of fall into 4 areas when I'm having these sort of executive conversations. The first is around, how is AI going to change our strategy, or how are we going to build new products and drive growth in our business? So that there's that application area. Then the second is, really thinking about these multi-agent AI agent systems. And those are really a lot more about internal and productivity gains. How are we going to be more efficient as an organization, provide better quality work? And then the third, really important one that comes up all the time, is openness and optionality, right? You don't want to be locking into any particular model or framework. You want to have that ability that as this space changes so quickly, that you've got flexibility. And so that's really core to, and historically has always been to Google. We're a very open source business. To to our detriment with the transformer paper. And then finally is that holistic AI strategy. So like governance, security, is that being built into the platform? How are we thinking about incorporating that into everything that we do? But with those trends, what I thought I'd spend the next bit of time is thinking about 3 areas of real estate. There's a million different things I could show you. I'm going to show you as many as I can in a short period of time. One is around the real estate experience. Second is around search and discovery. And then the third around creation. So when we start with experience, a 60s Mike, I was not dressed like that or looked like that, but I was drinking a glass of wine when I created this tool. So what I'm going to show you now is I vibe coded this whole thing. What vibe coding means is I just told it what I wanted to do and it built it. So on the left-hand side is a tool.
Update this property so it's a bit more modern. I want to replace the lawn with a plunge pool.
Don't want to hear me talking. So what it's got is Code Assist is Gemini understanding what I need. And I got it to build this application. So what you're seeing happen on the right now was me talking to it because I don't like typing anymore. I like using my voice for everything. I've uploaded a picture and now I tell it how I want it to be restyled or renovated. Okay. And so then what I do is hit refine image. And what it's going to do is it's going to use Gemini to understand my prompt, the changes that I want it to make. And then it's using this really cool thing called Nano Banana, which is amazing at image editing. And you can see the change that it's done. It's kept everything really consistent across the backyard. I got it to add the slider in. But then I thought, like, what are the other things I need as an end user? And I kept building this, right? So I want a project plan. I need to figure out how I get a quote from a builder. What are going to be the regulatory hoops I'm going to have to jump through? And so I kept adding these features. So you're seeing there is like, this is it giving a breakdown of what will be required to do this type of a renovation, the materials. I even got it to come up with some budgets for me, low, medium, and high. I've got the ability, you'll see in a second, to download this as a PDF so I could share it with my wife or whatever. I'm literally building all of this stuff myself, and I do not know how to code. And then when we get into the builder's brief, I didn't know what a good brief looked like. And so I went into Gemini and said, hey, like, what's a good template of a brief to give to a builder to get a renovation done? Came up with that template. I said, use this template, now build and now use it. And you can see it's incorporated that into the application. Now I was like, I don't know any builders. So I said, can you build me a tool so I can search for local builders? And so it uses Google search and our maps grounding capabilities to go out based on my address and find me local builders. And I said, can you make it so I can just hit a button? It'll send an email to them with my brief attached so I can start getting quotes back. And then the final bit that I think it'll show in a second is that last bit of like, I live in Hobson's Bay right now. If I was to do a reno, it's not the best suburb for those things. We're a heritage listed house. So what does that mean? So I pop in the address there, I hit research, and what it does is it goes and uses search again, and we'll summarize out all of that. So this is just an example. Like, imagine like taking this type of capability and putting it into the different types of real estate applications that you all run and power, or just thinking about how you can use something like this to very quickly prototype, right? Like, this is one person who can't code who's been able to prototype a whole idea of an application. We can touch and feel it and decide if it's something we want to progress without spending months and months to build something out. And then the second example is, I thought, like, as dealing with like buyers advocates, how is that kind of changing? Because the frustration I have as a buyer is like looking at homes is that, hope I don't offend anyone in the room, the estate agents don't often give me a lot of advice around the suburb and the area. They're lots about the houses, but what's more important to me is the suburb that we're considering. And so this is where using tools like deep research, I'm sure some folks in the room have maybe used that in Gemini or in ChatGPT, but I go in there and I give it a really detailed description of what I want to know about a suburb. And what deep research does is it takes a bunch of time to really think about the question and come up with a whole plan, which you can see. And then it's going to go and use Google search and go and do all of this research. I think in this example, it goes across 150 different websites, pulling all the information it can, and then generates a really nice detailed report, which we'll see in a moment here. Yeah, so it's got this really long detailed report, which presents another problem. I don't like reading long, detailed reports, all right? And so what I'm going to show you now is a product called Notebook LM. Has anyone used Notebook LM in the room? Good. All right, halfway. We need this of everything. This is your homework. You need to go and try Notebook LM. It's a consumer product. It's free. You can go and play around with it. What you do with Notebook LM is you can upload documents into it, all different modalities. So whether it's a video or a PDF or audio. What I loaded in was the deep research paper that you just saw. And what it does is it ingests all these files as it completely understands them. And then you've now got a chat interface that you can ask questions, and it's grounded, which means it's only going to use the information from those documents to respond back to me. So you're not really going to get any hallucination. And the other neat thing that it does is it provides citations for everything that it writes in here. So we'll get an answer in a moment. And we'll see on the right-hand side here, I've got that citation of where it got that information from. And it can even take me directly to where that was. I do some work with the RSPCA Victoria board. This is what I do my board papers in now. It's amazing. It makes me seem like such a smart board member. Now, that sort of, text, again, we sort of haven't moved modalities. Now, the studio component of it's super cool, right? So we've got all these audio capabilities where it'll create like a podcast experience of two people chatting. I'm going to show you in a moment. You can get it to do a debate, a critique, a brief. You can give it instructions. So this is, using audio as a modality to learn and understand a topic. We recently launched this one, which is where you can get it to generate like a presentation of video, which is another great modality for people to learn. This one I particularly love. We've got this really interesting thing called a mind map that allows you to really explore the content more deeply. And again, thinking about my brief here where I'm looking into the suburb, I can really start to drill into that research and look at some of these particular areas, and it will generate the prompt and give me the subsequent answer. But while that's running, what I wanted to show you is what we call interactive modes. And this is in the audio function. So what we're going to hear now is a podcast style experience of two people talking, and I'm gonna interject.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a really close look at one of Melbourne's prime inner suburbs, Fairfield. That's postcode 378. We've got the 2021 census data, a local flood risk guide, and even a specific expert due diligence report.
Yeah, and the mission here is basically to make sense of. Oh, hey there, what's up?
Hey, before you get stuck in, can you help me understand a little bit more about what the commutes are like in Fairfield?
Oh, that is a fantastic question.
That's a great place to start, actually.
Because transport and commute efficiency is a massive factor for anyone moving inner city, especially here.
Absolutely. The good news is Fairfield offers excellent public.
I'm going to stop there. You can play around with this yourself. This was and still is probably the most profound thing I've seen us ship. It launched in February, and when you think about like the scale of what happened there, it understood my question. It made sense of it, came up with an answer across all those documents. It wrote a script, it translated into their voices, and then it integrated into that, and it did it in like a few seconds. Like that latency, I do not understand how that works, but it's also really useful. So I put a lot of docs in, I put my board papers in, and then I will turn this on. And then while I'm doing dishes or other things, I ask questions. So I can have a really great deep conversation around the topics. Really powerful tool. Again, encourage you all to use it outside of work. And then the video one is super sweet. So it'll basically create a video for us.
So let's talk about what it really takes to buy a family home these days. We're going to dive deep into an expert report, a case study really, on one of Melbourne's hottest suburbs. And we're going to uncover those hidden tripwires, the things that can turn that dream home into a total nightmare. And more importantly, how you can sidestep them. Okay, so picture this. You've got a $2 million budget. Sounds like a lot of money, right?
Anyway, it will go through, it tends to be about 7 to 8 minutes. The testing showed that our attention spans don't go much longer than that. Sad. And you can download this as well. And what's cool is it uses Nano Banana. You can get it to style it in the way that you want as well. And so like for me, the other interesting thing, right, is these are all APIs and tools under the hood, right? Like this is an application that Google has built, but you can still leverage these types of services to build out your own similar kinds of experiences as well, right? So I don't want people to get lost on like, oh, we don't have the capability to do that through Google Cloud and the services that we provide. You could be building these types of things, or you can leverage these things in there. Are we doing questions? Yeah. Yeah, so if I connect into Drive, I can connect and go and pull different docs. I should probably close this. There's probably confidential stuff in there. No screenshots. You can see a lot of work I do with REA. Yeah, you can. And then it will auto update. So a trend that a lot of people do is they just put all their personal docs in there, and then it's just always updating. And this is like their go-to person to speak to, if you will, on any of that. So that's Notebook LM. I could say that for ages, doing more stuff with it. But yeah, play with it, use it. It's really cool. So that was just a few examples of like, what does that experience in real estate, some ideas of things you can do. The second area is search. Obviously, search is a major part of the experience in real estate. And historically, that's been keyword-based types of search, filter-based searching, similar to, the way that our search bar worked. But now what we're seeing is much more semantic questions or intuitive questions, longer questions. So the way people are looking and searching for information is shifting. And it's even starting to move into a more conversational experience, right? Where people don't just expect answers, they want to be able to do follow-ups, right? And so we're building that, as you saw in AI mode and those types of capabilities into Google search. But as I said at the beginning, like Google Cloud sort of piggybacks off of broader Google. And so we have a product called Vertex AI Search. And so what that does is enables all of those rich search capabilities through a managed service through Google Cloud. So we ingest your data, your files, et cetera, and then it can use all of our goodness to provide that sort of search experience. I'm going to play you a demo. These capabilities are all possible. This is a Figma, so I'm not going to tell you this is like a live thing. It's Symbol Homes, our fictitious home. But really, what it's illustrating first is using that more broader semantic-based search at the beginning, right? So I put a broader question in there. It's personalized and provided an answer, right? So when I talked about that conversational component. And it's also looked at my history and really understood me to start to pull together, or Jane in this instance, those personalized listings and recommendations. You can start to ask those broader questions like it did there around churches, bakeries, et cetera, because it can use the Google Maps grounding data that we have to better understand a suburb or an area. Doing things like drawing within a map to kind of refine down those searches, and then adding more context to it of like, I don't want to be, I think in this example, near a highway, becomes super interesting. And so that's kind of like thinking about language in different ways that you want to search, but also modalities, right? So this is uploading an image, and now it'll be able to go and find properties that have homes that look like that. Or if you imagine you're on the go, being able to take a photo of a house in a neighborhood, Fairfield, and look for houses that look similar to that. And then the other bit is like the example in here is like, I want to know about other suburbs or other cities in my consideration set. What else is similar to this? And so really the reason that this stuff starts becoming possible is the plumbing underneath of it is very different than what you would be doing traditionally today, right? This isn't using just filter-based search. This is using AI to understand embeddings and relationships across all of these different attributes and characteristics. And it's using Google data as well to sort of power that to create these really sort of differentiated experience for search. So we think this is a really exciting area and to explore for real estate. I did want to show you grounding with Google Maps. This is something we shipped a few weeks ago into general availability. And basically what we've done is there's so much rich data in Google Maps is we've made it a service that you can tap into to sort of personalize dynamically landing pages or really anywhere that needs that data. So what I'm going to do here, this is a live demo that you can go and play around with as well, which is nice. You don't need a Googler to show you. But the one example I really liked was what we're seeing here is there's the Regent Luxury Hotel and apartment, and it's giving a result based on, oh no, is it not working? Let's try this again. Live demos. Yeah, there we go, cool. So you can see in here, like based on my preferences, the landing page is different. So if you think about the real estate experience, if you know someone, you know that I have 2 kids, you know where I live, you know that I'm vegan, you know that I like da-da-da, I should always get a landing page like this, right? I don't want to know all the details about a suburb that aren't relevant to me. 5 minutes. Moving swiftly along, Michael. So that's kind of grounding with Google Maps. So I was thinking about like, how can you take that rich data and start to improve that experience? And then the last section I'll talk to is content generation. This is one of the funnest spaces. This is creative. But we have a whole bunch of models. So we got VO, which is our video generation model, Imagine, an image model. Lyria makes music. Chirp is for voices. And then we've got that live interactive Gemini one that you saw. And what I wanted to show you here is a demo that we have built out where what it's doing, and this is all built on top of those tools and APIs, and we've called it like our Gen Media Creative Studio. But what we're going to see is, move faster demo guy, cool. We did one for interior design. And so what we can do is upload a 2D flat floor plan. And then what we're going to do is Nano Banana is going to convert it into a 3D render. And when it's doing that 3D render, it's then going to use Gemini to understand the rooms, right? And so what we'll see once this populates is a number of chips or buttons, and each one of those is the particular room or attribute that it's picked out of that render. And then what the engineer said is, okay, well, let's make it so you click on a room and now it's going to generate what it thinks an image of that room might look like. And it can also start to think about creating a video for each of those rooms. So as I use this demo tool, I can kind of go and pick and choose the different rooms, and then it's going to auto-generate that starting frame or that starting image, and then generate a video. And then ultimately, we hit another button at the bottom to generate video, and it will take all of those videos and stitch them together. And we'll see in a moment a sort of fly-through type of experience. This becomes super interesting when you think about like new builds and some of those things where you've got a little bit more creative liberty. Obviously, a little bit more tricky if you're going to do that with an established home, but really the potential is immense. Imagine the types of experiences that we can be putting together to really change the way that real estate's experienced. So those are the three things I was going to cover. It is the tip of the iceberg. I could stand up here for all day showing you stuff, but I tried to distill it down to like, what are some things that are interested in the real estate experience space? How is like search and discovery changing? You sort of saw the different ways that search is fundamentally changing. And then how content, really this is such an important part of the real estate experience, and how can we be using this technology to modernize that? We've got lots of great examples. Rather than run through all of them, I'll leave the screen up for a few moments here, hit the QR code. The landing page you're going to, we update this every month. So it was about 100 use cases in May. We're now up to 1,001. So I'd suggest using Control F and looking for the type of content you want rather than trying to read through all of it. But a bunch of different types of case studies and work that we're doing with different customers around the world. So I guess just in summary to close, three things. One, be an orca. You got to throw yourselves into this stuff. Otherwise, someone else is going to. And it's not easy. You just got to do it. The second is thinking really about the customer experience. Like and we're all consumers as well. How is our experience changing, and how is that applying to our business models and our experiences? And then the third one is really, creative. The creative industry is rapidly changing right now, and it's a bit daunting and scary, but it's also a really interesting opportunity where people like me can create stuff that I couldn't have done before. So I think that's the other big area. But thank you for the opportunity to present to all of you. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you.